Hi there. Right, well, this is a brief introduction. This is like one of those kind of video link-ups or something, isn't it? Anyway, this is meant to give you a bit of extra information about this module in case you'd like to choose it as one of your options. And it's IS0601. It's called Information and the Web in Business, Theory and Practice. So this is something to give you a bit of an idea about what the module is about. Okay, so the idea is that information in business is frequently published to audiences sort of inside the organisation and outside the organisation via the web. And so this module will look at what are the best practices in publishing that information and in making web pages in that process that are kind of designed for a target audience, because the audience maybe, if you're an architecture company, is quite different from the audience if you're a magazine publishing information for heavy metal fanatics. So web pages designed for a target audience, and those web pages should be easy to read and easy to manipulate, so they're usable, and then they should be accessible, because these days the audience might be any kind of person, any age group, with any kind of disability. They might be blind or partially sighted or have difficulty with the hearing, difficulty manipulating a mouse, and now that's all built into legislation in the UK and the whole of Europe that web pages need to be accessible to everyone. And then the information that we're presenting isn't static information, it changes all the time, and that information is frequently stored in company databases. So we'll look at ways of using that information and dynamically presenting that information in web pages. So how are we going to actually do that? Well, the components of the module are, first of all, web. We'll look at usability and design for purpose and accessibility. And we'll assume you already know XHTML and CSS, though we'll spend some time with tasks to help you, remind you of that if you've forgotten it. If you don't know it at all, then that is slightly problematic but not insurmountable, but it will mean that you'll have to sort of teach yourself in conjunction with those tasks to get up to speed with that, and that's something that people have managed to do perfectly well in the past, but it's just a bit of an extra load on you to learn that. Not so difficult, but you'll need to be aware of that. We'll look at database design and use. Now, this is something that some of you may well have done in previous modules, but maybe not in quite this way, because we'll look at it in a bit more depth, but on specific things. We'll look at ways of seeing what data you've got already, maybe in the form of spreadsheets or invoices, and using a technique called normalization to figure out how to construct the tables to store that information. And then we'll complement that with something called a top-down technique, where we actually look at the information that's required in some way, maybe because there's some statement from the client, and coming up with the diagramming technique called entity relationship diagramming to describe that data. And if properly done, those two techniques should meet in the middle and we should end up with the same answer. And then we'll look at table creation and data manipulation and extracting that data using SQL, structured query language. And then finally we'll pull all of that together using learning some programming in a language called PHP. It's a very powerful language, albeit a very simple one. It's used by 79% of websites according to data that's March 2013, so fairly recent. And we'll use that programming language to extract the data from the databases and construct web pages with it. And all of that will be covered both in terms of workshop material and screencasts. Okay, module assessed via an exam in semester 1, multiple choice, so you just have to tick the dot, and we'll cover the basics of databases. I mean, very basic. Entity relationship diagrams, you'll be given a few diagrams and you have to sort of interpret them, and some normalization. And that exam is worth 25% of the overall mark for the module. And then finally we'll finish off at the end of semester 2 with a system building assignment where you kind of pull everything together. So you'll be using some SQL, some PHP, and constructing web pages that are XHTML and CSS. They use that, and that's worth 75%. Okay, it's taught in a 2-hour weekly workshop, and for a lot of the tasks, especially those to do with PHP, there are screencasts to accompany them. So hopefully you'll find it both interesting and extraordinarily useful. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.